right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Judy Fox, and I serve as the program manager for the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, also known as LARC, which represents 19 community colleges across the Los Angeles region. I also have the pleasure of co-leading the LARC AI Task Force with Chair and Assistant Vice President of LARC, Dr. Narne McKeegan. Today's AI professional development session, Responsible AI Implementation, is made possible through our partnership with the Los Angeles County Office of Education, also known as LACO, and the coordination and vision of LARC's AI Task Force. This collaborative work has resulted in over 30 AI professional development opportunities made available for all of you well into 2026. Leading today's session is Eduvator's Technical Director, Dr. Raina Walsinger, and Instructional Technology Trainer, Linda Delzite. The goal of today's presentation is to equip TK14 leaders with practical strategies to implement AI thoughtfully and equitably in schools and programs. And before we launch into it, we are excited to share with you that you will find today's professional development session and more on the newly launched LARC AI Learning Library, and we'll be sure to drop the link in the chat for all of you. And with that, I turn it over to our friends and AI subject matter experts from Eduvators to get today's professional development started. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I turned my mic up ahead of time, so hopefully you can all hear me loud and clear. Welcome to today's training session. We're really excited to bring this. We have a lot of material to go through today, and you'll get it all on the recording, of course, in the library. So let's get started with some introductions. So some of you have been here before, but I'll introduce myself again. I'm Dr. Raina Walsinger. My background is in biomedical engineering and digital media. I'm a current active professor in the community colleges and a professional musician, world traveler, and AI enthusiast. So also, Eduvators is here to help our community learn AI and responsibly implement AI across our systems. So with that, I'll pass it to Linda.
Hi, everybody. I'm Linda, and I've been teaching since 1977 at the community college level. I'm currently teaching at both El Camino and LA Trade Tech, and I have served as distance ed coordinator, department chair, and have been pioneering educational technology since 1991. I'm happy to be here with you.
All right, thanks, Linda. And throughout this, we'll go ahead and use the chat. We're going to be using the chat a lot in this session to communicate with each other back and forth. Also, feel free to unmute if you have something that you want to say or raise your hand. So it'd be great. So our objectives today are understanding the ethical use of AI and evaluating institutional readiness. So we're going to go through a whole series of steps to give you a plan to help with your institution being ready to implement AI responsibly and safely, and implementation plan. So we're going to start with stuff in the chat. So if you can put in the chat, what is your primary role? And I'll start with mine and text that to everybody. Great, great, great. Okay, we have several pathway coordinators. That's fantastic. So we've both worked in CTE a long time. So if you have any specific questions on your roles, make sure you bring them up. Okay. Looks good.
It's great to see the K-12 pathways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot with the K-12 dual enrollment too.
I just did a pathway day. We made with 90 students Halloween plays that they had to come up with in 20 minutes and perform with characters and backstories. It's pretty awesome. They loved it.
AI ethics advisor, yay.
Yeah, that's going to be great for today. Oh, wow, awesome. Okay, fantastic. So our next question that we have, and you can put in the chat again, have you used AI for work tasks? You can put yes, or if you want to put a comment with it, that'd be great.
Cloned yourself? That's great. I got to hear more about that.
Vincent, yeah, we want to hear more.
Even while sleeping. Yay. You guys got a sense of humor. That's great.
Holiday Friday, I love it. Okay, so everyone here's had some experience with that all the time. I love that. That's me. Also fantastic. Okay, and our next one. This is important. What are your biggest concerns, excuse me, on AI use in your institution?
And we recognize that it's changing by the day. So what was your concern maybe 6 months ago? It's new because of the way AI is changing. Policy restrictions.
Put my own up here. Oops, I misspelled it, of course. Your biggest concerns, top down. Yeah, that's been a problem. Ah, nice.
I agree, Joanne.
Technology changing daily is not something that we've had to really deal with here before. I remember the days teaching Photoshop where, we could update the computers once a semester in IT, and now that's totally doesn't work anymore. Limited use of tools. Fantastic. Okay, good.
So you guys share the same concerns we have.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. So why does this matter? There's been a lot of trainings and workshops and convenings that we've all been to. And also, I've had the pleasure of doing them with certain departments, one of them being English. And sometimes it comes up like, oh, I'm re-questioning why I'm teaching this subject and how I'm teaching the subject and all of that. And it's a struggle for this change because we're kind of trying to figure out how this works into certain subjects, and some of them are easier than others. But on every research that we've looked at, it says not replacing educators, but changing the way that we interact with it because it's kind of here to stay, folding into our our economy and all of our systems. And so we're here to help with empowering teachers and giving you some keys to implementing AI in the classroom and the institutions. And so we have a little quote there from a very important study that came out this week from the National Science Foundation. Teacher empowerment is the key to preparing students for an AI future, both in terms of educator training and student exposure to AI applications. So this, in fact, we can put a link in the chat to this study. It's a long study, and it goes through some incredible
and begin to pass away
incredible areas in education where AI is having an impact. Do you want to say anything about that study, Linda?
I just want to say that everyone's worried about AI is going to replace our jobs. And every day in the news, you hear about Amazon is reducing its workforce and replacing it with AI. It's not going to replace teachers. It's going to make you even more important. Teachers and counselors, especially counselors, when you hear about all of the things that are happening with kids that are talking to AI and getting bad information. So next slide.
Okay. So we're really working on training workers, and I'm coming from industry in the last 6 years where we changed all of our departments, and everyone else is doing that too, to be efficient and actually do more work for our departments. And so I was doing training as well as marketing and also coding, all of that. So so it's been a big change. And so all students are having to kind of ingrain these skills into their skill set. Also, I just wanted to comment on the chat for a second. So there's a kind of tendency to do things with AI, and that's the problem in education is it's easier to just push a button and get an essay than to sit and write. So that's what the battle that we're fighting right now is that kind of just human tendency to do the easiest thing. However, I'm super excited because on all of the student panels, once we explain about learning, most of the students that are there to learn and understand the frameworks that we're going to go through today will change their behavior with some work on our part. So, all right.
I put the link to that NSF study in the chat.
Oh, thanks, Linda. All right, fantastic. So the responsibility matrix. This is something that is important to understand. And in fact, students, this is a big one for them. There's three responsibilities that, and we thought maybe you can think about this for your role, something that if you stop doing the thing, it would change your role. So we have three categories of that, something that's uniquely human, requires judgment, relationships, lived experience, context. For me, that'd be like my weekly office hours where I'm helping people with individual questions. There's not a bot doing that. AI augmented, it assists you, but you decide and verify, and AI adapt routine tasks AI can handle. So we have a little, I think that's on the next slide, little matrix here. So I thought maybe you can put some examples and then I'm going to stop sharing and go to the live one, Linda. So, or maybe I can just fill it out here on what, if you stop doing something, if what in these categories do you do on your job that would change? And we can fill in this a little bit. So maybe we can put in the chat some ideas about uniquely human, or we can also, if you want to raise your hand and just talk about it, that might be an easy way to do this as well. So something uniquely human, AI augmented, or AI adapting that would you might be doing for your job. Whoops. Need to do that.
So Mario has put AI can't do problem solving. So let's do uniquely human problem solving, risk assessment, policy planning, strategic implementation are the ones he's listed.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in this one that I think we can edit live. Hopefully.
There it is.
Yeah. It'll let me, yeah, it'll let me type in here. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Problem solving, risk assessment, policy planning, strategic implementation. For AI augmentation, designing curriculum models
Oh, that's perfect.
and presentations that incorporate.
Okay, great.
So for uniquely human is historical experience and style. You've lived it.
Okay.
AI adapt, automatic grading, rubrics, and feedback summaries in Canvas. That one, you may have to get a policy and your contract even can come into place with what automatic grading you can do.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of just for a second get everyone's opinion on automatic grading. I mean, I certainly have an opinion on that because I think helping students with based on what they're learning and not learning helps me as a teacher and also helps the students. So if you have any comments, if you want to unmute for a second, that'd be awesome.
Over in uniquely human is common sense. I like
Yes.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Dr.
Lord.
Wolzinger, I plugged in the automatic grading comment. This is Vincent Callip here, Long Beach City College. Great to see you again.
Yeah.
As we're building, as faculty members, we're building, courses in Canvas. And quite frankly, one of the loveliest features of Canvas, I'm sure we can all agree, is the quiz feature. And the quiz feature there kind of incorporates this kind of automatic grading kind of mechanism there. And so now when you have, AI adaptation, um, I think where does this live or where could this potentially scale? I have what, 200 students, a semester. And so I'm not necessarily trying to outsource my grading to AI in this particular case, right? But rather, um, you know, have AI kind of adapt to kind of the low-hanging fruit and or just kind of these assessments that are really kind of straightforward, these multiple choice assessments, if that makes sense. So perhaps probably not utilizing it for my discussions, but maybe for straightforward assessments, if that makes sense. That's kind of my idea around automatic grading.
That's perfect. I love that for quizzes too. The ones that I'm concerned about is when students turn in projects and then you have the AI look at the rubric and look at the project and give it auto feedback, because those are the ones where we were really insightful about where the students where we need to fill a gap as instructors. And that takes time, those types of projects. And those are the ones that I hope we're not auto grading. So I'm always going to push that out there. For sure, quizzes and things that are multiple choice and things like that, those are great for auto grading, and those aren't as insightful for us anyways. Although we can get AI to say, where is the major gap in learning across my classroom? So that's a good use of AI to kind of analyze data, but and grade those quizzes and give us some overall idea of what's happening.
I'll add one more to the AI Adapt, and that is Play Lab. So I created a couple of Play Lab interactions for my first aid classes, and they are either they play the injured or they play the rescuer. So on sudden illness, they are playing the rescuer, and AI grades them, but it's not part of my grading, but AI tells them, hey, this is how you can do better. So it gives them practice time that we don't have in class. So that's an AI Adapt that I'll put in.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to this one. It's easier for me to see. Okay. So let's talk about how we can empower and disempower. So there's some benefits and risk. Of course, we all know with AI, it's efficient, especially in terms of the things we just talked about, module creation, quizzes, grading quizzes, even innovation, like giving new ideas for activities, discussions, and so forth. You can adapt learning for individualization, which is great. Job security, that could be on either side. And then there's the risk, and it's definitely AI is still pleasing to the user. I kind of feel like that's embedded still and to get you to like to use it. And then you become dependent on it. Students, especially in K-12, seem to be too dependent on it. And I've heard student panels even go to they're worried about their friends, and the friends look it up. What's the weather? What do I wear? What should I for breakfast? How do I get to school? Everything. They just walk around and talk to it, and then if they're doing that, that means they're over depending on it in their education as well. Privacy and deep fakes, that's something that takes a lot of teaching. I teach it almost every week in all of my AI and tech classes because it's something that's proliferating. And even today, I saw something on social media that was definitely a fake thing. It was on a known person that somebody put up there. And how do you spot those? And for us, how do we keep our face and our voice out of those fakes? And how do we keep everything private, especially student data? Then we have this big problem of entry-level job displacement, because those are the ones that are being affected right now by AI. Okay, I'm going to move on to ethics, and this is a super important thing that we're all trying to grapple with, and it's coming into probably going to be our policies statewide and in our institutions. Linda, can I pass this one to you for a sec?
Sure. So in everything that we're doing, and I see it in your chat, is how are we going to build trust with using the AI tools? How are we going to get a trust with our students? You can use the AI tools for this, but you can't use it for that. This is where you need to do some hard work versus the easy work. So this transparency and ensuring boundaries, putting examples in your syllabus of the policy that says, hey, this is what you will be allowed to do, limited use. Then in every assignment going, you can do this, but you can't do that. And getting students to abide by it so that you trust them, putting in the boundaries. How do you enforce it? What kind of consequences do you have? That all is something that we're grappling with on this area of trust and buy-in. So academic integrity, yes, we have to get them to learn. We have to get them to do the hard work, but at the same time, we do need them to learn to use the tools because those are job employment tools that they will need to use as they go out of school and into the workforce. So what are those FAIR protocols, ensuring effective responsibility, and how do you eliminate the biases? Okay.
Yeah, so there's two ends of that spectrum too that I've heard from administrators and a lot of CEOs and down to the faculty and classified professionals. So one is we're not the AI police, so we can't be all day trying to chase that. But the other end is, well, then are we going to have grade inflation because certain people are cheating? And so, we have to go back to, and that's always been the case. It's just sometimes easier with AI and harder to spot. So that's kind of the world we're living in. And it's going to kind of I think it's going to push changes in the future as far as grading and things like that, because, and the way things are being done in classrooms. I know, for example, USC here in LA, that the freshman and sophomore classes are writing their essays in class on paper, which is the first time I'd heard that from that institution. Okay, so this one, student guidelines for responsible AI use. They really want to know like what's expected. And I'm not saying 100%, but like 99, 98%, they want to know what's expected and when they should be using it, when they shouldn't be using it. And so giving them an opportunity to use AI, like, hey, just like Linda just said, is a good way to handle this. So understanding its limitations, so it's not going to write like you, and it's not going to have your memories. It's not going to, if you got a writing sample and compared it to what AI was doing, it's probably going to be different. Academic integrity, so you're learning, we're grading, everything is not inflated grades based on AI. And that's critical thinking is a big one, because now these students are going to need to vibe code and do things like that in the workforce. If they can't think through like 20 prompts to get to the right answer in the workforce, they're not going to be maintaining their jobs. And that's critical thinking, problem solving, and teamwork. So just pushing the button is not doing that. But there's a ton of assignments where they can do that and put all their critical thinking steps in there. So we can have them use AI and force critical thinking and grade it. It's just a different type of assignment that we're not used to giving. That's one that I am working on at the last semester, part of the semester, in all my classes, is giving them pretty tough assignments with a lot of critical thinking steps, and that's how they're going to get graded. Privacy and security, we're going to have a bunch of slides on that coming up, so that'll be coming up about data and student data and all of that. And building essential AI skills. So there's a lot of information about prompt engineering, but each AI has, some of them change your prompts even, or enhance your prompts, especially the coding ones. And so it's more about critical thinking than prompting, in my opinion. And then practicing responsible citizenship, adding citations, checking those citations, checking links, because AI will give you false information. So those have to be checked. All right, Linda, you want to take this one?
Sure. So I have a problem with AI detection tools where you're relying on the tool, and then you've got students who are getting impacted, and not all of that AI detection tools work. Okay, the plagiarism detection tools, but teaching them how to do it right. Respecting their privacy is important. They like to submit things to AI, but if they're not coming in and using the protected tools, or they don't know how to use the protected tools, are we putting our students at risk? And so we've got some slides on that. Institutional privacy policies. We're all governed by tools. FERPA is one, California protection. We've got student protection around the world, pretty much. We have to know what those are. We've got a slide on that. And conversation starters, not final verdicts. So bringing a student in and having a discussion. How did you do it? Where did you do it? Did they use it because they were an ESL student and they took what they had written, gave it to AI? AI completely wrote it, but it made it translated. And even though it didn't come up looking the right way to you, where did they use it and how did they use it, and not just off with your head? So having those conversations, I think, is important, and teaching them to use AI the right way.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of students worry about like when they, when they get approached by their instructor or their professor, and about this. And so that's a kind of a new area for us. How do we approach it and make it a safe space to have those truthful conversations? And they're going to run into that anyways at work, so they might as well learn it while they're in school. So privacy and data security. This is a big one because these tools, they all operate differently, and I think it's a kind of a big learning curve for us. So, for example, Microsoft 365, if you have an account from school and there's a green flag on it, that it maintains your data within your institution. So using institutional account, you can use OneDrive, you can put student data in there, and it stays within your institution. But if you're on a tool like ChatGPT and it's not a corporate account, it's just your own account, and you put student data in there, it's public. So you just violated everything. And so it seems like, oh, I'm going to just put things in there and ask questions, and you can't do that. It's going to be, you're violating FERPA and everything. However, if you're like in corporate, and also if you have a pro account or a team account from your institution, it would be kept in a separate bucket from, usually it's Amazon Web Services, AWS, and that stays within your institution. That's how we do it in industry. So you need to know, like, what are you using? Where is the account? Is it corporate and is it safe before you put any data anywhere? Do you want to talk about the compliance part, Linda?
So we have a couple of slides. I guess these aren't in the best order. Is we talk about FERPA is those rules that govern student education in the United States. GDPR is the same thing, but it's in the European Union, okay? And it's personal data across the EU. COPA is safeguarding children's data in the United States, and CCPA is consumer rights over their personal information within California. So those of us who live in California have, several of these rules that we have to govern by. And most of the time, we're doing a pretty good job, but maintaining the privacy, the digital privacy of our students. And now even with their voice, because AI can so easily capture it and then imitate it and get it to say things that it shouldn't be saying, we have to kind of protect that. And I don't know where this is going to go with all of the YouTube stuff we have our students do. Maybe we shouldn't be putting it on YouTube anymore. Maybe we have to be putting it somewhere else that's on a server that is better protected. So those are questions that I don't think we've all answered yet. If you're using Canvas, then you've got Canvas Studio, and that is a compliant location because it's within the learning management system. So we need to look at that stuff as we're dealing with AI.
Also, yeah, you mentioned YouTube. There's a new tool that, at least it's in my Canvas, where it strips out the ads and stuff from YouTube and it goes into the Canvas Studio. So we're using that. Also, we have a free resource on eduvators.net about compliance. So feel free to grab that as well. So detector tools. My favorite thing about detector tools is when we go over them with students, they said, oh, we have better ones that are battling yours and we usually win. And so that was kind of discouraging. So the important thing to know is these are all, they may or may not work. Usually it's like kind of 50-50. So yeah, there's false positives. Students get really frustrated when you come to them and say, "Hey, my Grammarly said you're cheating," and that's really not a good conversation starter. And so these are the ones that are there, but there's other ones that are better that battle these. And students are pretty savvy in changing their work. So you have to be careful. I had a conversation just last night with an English professor in LA that is like tries three of them and then has a conversation with students, but it's still like 50-50, she said, because they give false positives and it's very frustrating. She's spending this exorbitant amount of time trying to detect AI issues, and it's a lot of time, but it's not really working. So that's the issue with the detectors at the moment. Okay, so we have this protocol for addressing suspected AI misuse. And this is where the, experience kinds of comes in, where you can, if you suspect AI misuse and you're worried about it, you step one, verify what the work is, to communicate privately, and with respect to the student. And sometimes students just go, that I didn't cheat, and maybe they did, and most of the time they'll kind of fess up to that. So communication, and that's a professional part of teaching. Discussing it as a teaching moment. I think that's the most important one is, where if it's a class that you need to learn stuff, and they all do. And that's the first question I ask people that are struggling as teachers, like, is this a required class? Is it something they wanted to take? Is it a GE? Because sometimes that makes a difference. If people are taking a class to hit a requirement, there might be more tendency to be less interested in how much they learn. So keep that in mind. But usually when you explain to them, how they're not learning something and you can prove it, that they start to understand. And then policy adherence, to explain, the policy, plagiarism and all of that with students and also within your department. Anything on that, Linda?
The two classes, there's two classes that I have my students take, which is, I'm pulling them up here, forget the name of them right now. So let me pull up the free courses. And the students really like them. AI information literacy for college students and getting started with AI for students. So I'm going to put those links into the chat for you. And the students like it. I have students who say, I'm so afraid to use AI because all my teachers are beating me over the head to not use it. And I'm pushing them to learn to use it, both when I interact with the K-12 students and when I interact with my own college students. So, and I think this is important for them to know. So
I want to make a couple comments from the chat. So Fatima, and excuse me if I'm mispronouncing your name. If you want to unmute, that'd be great. But I think that's a really good point that you have there in reverting to paper and pen. The students get in the ones that I've met at the community college level don't like that. They don't like the paper and pen yet. I know universities are doing it. Because they're complaining that, well, they write out of order and then they cut and paste back, and that's how they learn how to write, and now they got to do it on paper. I mean, that's how I learned how to write. So, we were still in typewriters days when I was learning how to write. So it used to work. So it probably still works. Of course, there's a lot of students that have this is going to be a new experience for them. And also, Vincent, about cheating, what does it say about assessment mechanisms? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, because I know like they can put the assessment into the ChatGPT or whatever and then have it write an essay based on that. So
Yeah, I attended a conference once where I heard a speaker talk about this, and I kind of I spoke about it too as well at my own institution. And the question came up around I think that us as educators are addressing the skill of, not necessarily the skill per se, but cheating in general, right? And I think it's fair to say that cheating has kind of always been the thing. This is kind of the narrative around that, right? Cheating has always been the thing throughout education. It's just now kind of a different tool, a different resource that students are using to get to point B. And as I think about it in my own practice, what I think about is if a student felt they needed to cheat on any of my particular assessments, then either my assessment was way too difficult or I didn't meet the objectives of my particular assignment, right? Or the student learning outcome. And so I've been kind of almost transforming my own practice. So I think it's I would be remiss if I didn't mention that faculty probably should reevaluate, right, their own practices and how does this transform education as a whole. So I think that where you're looking at one kind of thing at like cheating and being reactive to it as opposed to being proactive in higher education.
Beautifully said. I love that. Assessment's one of the first issues that came up actually about a year and a half ago in this whole issue. So proactive, yes.
Okay, if I might share, we just had a midterm exam and I made the midterm a timed writing essay. And despite making it a timed writing essay and giving them time, they still cheated. Because if I give them 100 minutes, they spend 100 minutes Googling and using ChatGPT and writing it and then copy pasting it on the, like at the 95th minute, 5 minutes before it's due. So the only way is to actually get them to write with pen and paper. And that's what I'm going to do for the final.
Yes, and maybe we need to hire more TAs so we're not we're not dying trying to grade everything. But again, that's what the universities are going to because they couldn't stop it, you know. So students don't like it, but you know, that's okay.
But it is a lack of confidence. They really don't feel the English is good enough. And they're like, why can't we use ChatGPT? Its English is so much better. But I'm like, it doesn't have your style. And your style is unique to you. And I'm not grading. AI is not, ChatGPT is not my student. You are. And I care about your writing. So it's all about emphasizing that if you don't write, if you don't use those brains of writing, you're going to lose it. And there was a beautiful webinar that I attended through LARC about building skills, not for training. I think it's in the library. And I intend to show my students that webinar. It was all about how writing is what you're learning in school is good for your brain. And if you are going to outsource it to AI, you are not using your brains. You're going to lose your brains and therefore not be employable.
Exactly. And they'll catch that on an interview even, you know, when you're not thinking for yourself. So beautifully said. Thank you so much. We totally agree with you. So that's our current mission to get our students to keep learning like we all used to do before AI. So, all
Well,
right.
the other thing is if you have your students say, okay, go use AI, then come back and critique where AI was wrong and how, and then you rewrite it in your own words. It's giving that ability to use AI, but then giving them the critical thinking skills that says, no, you can do better. That's just go get your draft and improve it. And that's the critical thinking skills that work's going to need to know.
I have used that too. And yes, that does work. So when I get AI generated essays, I give them 70 out of 100. And I'm like, okay, if you want to balance 30 points, now look at your AI generated essay and highlight and tell me the places where you have made the changes. So I do use that as well.
And
Thank you. That is an excellent suggestion.
And how could you have gotten better prompts, as Vincent says, to do a better deal the first time and get more out of AI? Again, those are work skills that we need to teach them. And online classes, they can't do paper and pen unless they go into a proctoring center.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we thought we'd have a little discussion, and feel free to unmute. There's 4 dilemmas. So the first one, we kind of went through, so maybe we'll skip that. Student turns in essay, it gets flagged as AI generated by detection software. But maybe we'll go to the next one. A teacher begins using AI for grading without informing the department. Is that an ethical dilemma? And I think Vincent already mentioned, like, it depends where it's being done and all of that, and I agree with that. Any comments?
Let me chime in here and say that I know of at least one teachers union who was worried about the contract from the district saying, hey, we don't need as many teachers because of AI, and the teachers are using AI anyway. And especially if the teachers are using AI for almost all their grading, we'll just make the class sizes bigger and da 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 da. So I think teachers need to start thinking about, other than, like the automated grading for multiple choice quizzes and stuff like that. How are we as teachers using AI? And another one besides grading is California has a new rule that's being implemented, well, at least within the California community colleges, that says day one, all materials have to be accessible for free to students. So can we use AI collectively to start writing our own units that we share that replace some of the expensive textbooks? So there's an idea that we collectively need to say, can we use AI and build our own OER to replace the expensive textbooks, at least at the community college level, not the K-12 level, because those textbooks are given free. So I just wanted to put that in there. Teachers need to use AI too.
Yeah. There's a couple of issues with Canvas, for most of us are using that. When you put tables in from AI, they come in as not accessible, so you got to fix them. PDFs come in a lot of times as not accessible, so you have to fix that outside of Canvas. And there's another one. When you switch to things to HTML and put it in Canvas, sometimes that also comes in not accessible. So just because you made stuff in AI and pasted in there, if you go through all the different accessibility tools, you'll find out those particular things are problematic.
Tina has something in the comments. Does
Oh.
Tina want to jump in now and share?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I have a whole framework around how we can use AI for critical thinking with different levels and, reflection and making it beyond just having them students become copywriters or editors of AI, where they're reflecting on their own learning. So I'm happy. That's like a whole 20-minute, a half hour conversation with slides and everything. So I'm happy to do that later if anyone's interested. I'm more than happy to. I just don't want to hijack your session with my what worked in my class, but I'd love to, share more of what worked and just help the community, really. Thank you.
Well, Judy, it sounds like you've got another workshop that you can get into. And maybe if you've got something that you can just attach into the chat as a handout or a link to Google Slides, you can do
Sure,
that
yeah,
for
I'm
us.
happy to share some of my slides from the one I shared with OpenAI. Yeah, I'll do that in the slide.
Thank you, Tina. We love to get educator-built materials.
That's great. You're on OpenAI. Are you in that section with the videos?
Oh, no, OpenAI had a higher ed forum this year, and I was one of the few faculty they selected to share their frameworks. And it was really nice to see what people across California are doing, across the US are doing, everywhere in the world. And um, it's really just about critical thinking, and they seem to be very open to listening to educators, and because they want their tools to work in the classroom, but we want our students to learn. So it's kind of like, what can we do to move beyond AI as a cheating tool, and how do we encourage students to actually learn something when they go in the workforce? So yeah, those were the slides I presented there, and I got good feedback. And I'm working on publishing a workbook for faculty, which I'm happy to share with everyone here at LARC. And yeah, just build on that, get more feedback, and help the community. So
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah, I was asking, I did a video I teach video too, so in OpenAI. So, and that's a great place to go. Maybe we could even link it somewhere, but they have a higher ed forum where we put videos on our best practices and they post some of them.
Yes, yes, thank you. Yeah, they also that was I think last year they have a well, not last year. They have a OpenAI Academy
Yeah.
where they selected, I don't know, 20 or 20, I don't know, some 40 professors around the world, and they also asked me to share what worked across different disciplines. So are you on the OpenAI
I
Academy?
am. I was so excited.
Nice. Yay. Great to have fellow Academy OpenAI people here. So awesome.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Tina. So, one of these that kind of comes up is AI chatbots, and we put an example there, AI chatbot for student advising, and the ethical dilemmas in that. And we have some thoughts about, students getting information from chatbots versus when they need a lot more nuance without the chatbots. And I'm sure all of us have been frustrated by customer service when you call anywhere now. It's like you're talking to a chatbot, and most of the time you need to talk to a person still. So, anybody have any comments on that?
Vincent
Yeah,
has a hand up.
I did have a comment. The AI chatbot for student advising. I mean, obviously, there's a potential misinformation or bias, and lack of contextual understanding really that happens there in that space. But my question is, I guess since PlayLab came on the scene, and is everybody familiar with PlayLab?
Yes, I
So
went to
yeah,
that webinar yesterday.
yeah. And so since PlayLab came on the scene, PlayLab was really around kind of designing chatbots.
Yeah.
And so designing a chatbot in such a way that you train kind of this chatbot to kind of converse in the way that you naturally would as a human. And, and then, in OpenAI's ChatGPT, individuals creating GPTs, as individual chatbots too as well. What are your thoughts around, just not using chatbots at all? Whereas now a lot of educators are seeing PlayLab as kind of being this really wonderful tool that could scale, right? Access to information that we normally would communicate as humans.
Yeah, so I have a pretty specific way I teach that. So let me just go through that quickly. Is I make all of my students create a chatbot using GEMS and Gemini. I'm doing Gemini on purpose because they can share it with the class, and it's something that we might be getting from the chancellor's office. So, and it's a little bit easier to use than Chat GPT or GPTs because you need a pro account to create them. And that way they can see what is, because most people don't understand like how they're created. And this is what I did in an industry. So I'm like, oh, people should understand how they're created. What's the information? What's the training that it sits on top of ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever. And all of that starts becoming more clear once you make your own. And then they're going to understand what the chatbots are doing. So I think it's as important or even most important for them to build their own so they can understand what the concept is, and then when they deal with chatbots in the real world or in our institutions, they understand kind of what the training is behind it and what it's going to give you and what it's not going to give you. So that's my comment on that. Does that make sense? And what I learned is most people don't understand these, how they work at all till they build them. So it's pretty interesting. And I'm teaching everybody from age middle school till 85, 90 different classes. So it's been a really good way to work with it. So Gemini is a good way to deal with that. I still think they should be there, but I just think you have to understand what you're dealing with. And Play Labs, to comment on your earlier thing, Vincent. Yeah, there's a thing that strips. I think it strips things into HTML, makes them more accessible. That we're building ones at Eduvators that doesn't do that. That makes because HTML strips a lot of style out. That makes still accessible PDFs with a different method. So we can talk about that later, though.
So I put my comment in the chat, and that is you have to be careful with PlayLab, particularly that it's constantly changing. And so what you built on one day isn't going to be exactly the same response on another day because they're constantly changing.
That's a really good point. And also,
You have to monitor.
and it sits on top of those LLMs that are changing. So good point. All right, so this next part, differentiating human versus AI generated work, is just some kind of things that might be helpful. Sometimes there's catchphrases in AI that we see a lot. The one that I see a lot is comparisons, and those comparisons are something that AI does all the time, and I don't personally write like that. So students usually don't either. It's like, and it really, there are super big red flags. It compares something and has the kind of hash in between it, the double dash. So these are some kind of red flags. And so when you talk with students, it's like, hey, you know, I noticed this, and this isn't usually the way you write. You know, do you want to talk about that? So thanks, Linda, for putting that resource in the chat. So just some kind of ideas on what AI is doing. Some cautions and limitations. AI detection is to be used with extreme caution, especially if you're going to be really accusatory, but it could be in fact, I probably wouldn't even mention it when I'm dealing with students. I'd just be talking about the other styles and things that you're seeing in the writing. The false positives. Here's an example. When something's very factual, it could flag it as AI, but it might just be part of a factual part of the paper. So it's not the end all be all. It's just a tool that's out there. Okay, this next part, super important, safe and compliant. I'm going to pass this one to Linda because Linda is great with Copilot.
Okay, so what I have to say is if you send your students or your students go to Copilot and they just open it up right off of the edge, then it's not private. Whereas if they log into their Microsoft account that goes with your college or school, if you issue those Microsoft accounts, then it is in a more protected state. So we need to teach our students, don't go out and just pull up ChatGPT unless you do X, Y, and Z. Don't go just pull up Copilot unless you first log into your student account. Then you are under that protected status. Okay. So I think that that's the point that I want to make here. Use it with the campus email accounts. Go log in if you are giving Microsoft. Maybe you're not giving Microsoft accounts. Maybe you're giving Google accounts to your students. So that's the point here.
Yeah, I mean, I just like that most of the students have Copilot, the 365, but they just have to understand which version they're in because they're super different. And if they're in their school account, then they'll be, you know, in a safe space to use the AI, the chatbot, all the agents in there, and all the great things that Copilot offers.
So if you happen to do a class orientation in person or even an online class, and you're going through your syllabus as orientation, one of the things you can do is to start doing some of this AI protection as part of your initial class that you're teaching, and teach them, get into your emails and then go to Copilot, or get into your emails and go to the GEMS or the Gemini. How to get a free Gemini account, how to get a free Perplexity account that they're giving away now. Teaching them to do those kinds of things, I think, is our responsibility as teachers.
Absolutely. So this next part, I'm actually going to switch to ChatGPT for a second here, but this is one of the biggest thing my students ask, especially my older students. They want to ask like medical questions or things like that. They don't want ChatGPT to know it's asking these questions. And so there's some safe modes and some settings. So I'm going to go ahead and share my my own desktop or my own Chrome and get into ChatGPT. Let's see which window I'm in. There, stop sharing. There's too many windows open, so I can't tell. All right, let me try that again. It's fun with Zoom and sharing all at once. Oh, geez. Okay, let's go to my Chrome. Okay, there we go. Huh. Okay. Sorry, I'm like fighting with Zoom and my screen at the same time. Oh,
Murphy's Law.
yeah. It's not dragging my screen down. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to be on ChatGPT. Sorry about that. All right, so this is really important. All of these, especially Gemini and ChatGPT, have a temporary chat. And when it does that, and I always have my students test it so they understand, it doesn't save your chat. So you can see all my chats on the left are saved. But if I start chatting now, it's not going to save anything. So I can ask.
Can we stop and let them open up a new window and
Yeah.
have them open up ChatGPT and follow along with you
Sure. Yeah,
for those who have not done it?
that's a good idea. So, and it's nice that it gives you that flag, the temporary chat, because I don't think it used to have that. And it's always the same icon, but they're in different places in different apps, but it's always a dotted line, some kind of conversation icon like that. So if I ask, any question about, tell me about, but I didn't want to save it, you'll see like on the left side now it's not saving anything. So are you guys able to do it? Any questions about that? If I want to get out of it, I can go to a new chat and then get out of it. But it won't, once you start a temporary chat, you're in there until you do a new chat. That's one of the features. Okay, the other features in here are in your settings. So if I go into my settings and there's the ChatGPT has, I think, the most and Claude settings that you can do, and then Gemini has a few. So you can make your system light or dark. I use dark mode just because it's easier on my eyes.
Is this only in the paid version, Rena?
This is okay. Is this only in the paid version? I think, well, no, I think as long as you signed in with your with some email, it'll save your settings, as far as what I know. So I went through this today just to make sure I had updated my stuff. So for my personalization, I can pick like the style that it's talking to me in. I just put default custom instructions. So I put my own instructions there. And that transfers to your phone too. So when you're talking to ChatGPT voice, it'll be in the same style and follow your instructions that you set up here. I have it address it as my name like that, my occupation, and a little bit about me. That way it's giving me information in the way that I want it. And then I turned on some other advanced features that I always want to have on: connectors, web searching, things like that. So between personalization and also you can tell it to not train on your data or train on your data. And I think that part is only in the Pro account.
Now that impacts the way it interprets your prompts too, right?
It does. So, and the way it definitely responds to your prompts. So, so you might need to test it a few times and see if it's doing it how you want. Also, you can connect it to things. So Google Drive, Canva, OneDrive, and this list is growing like daily. If you wanted to access information from any of those data sources. So, is there any questions on that? The other one, oh, sorry.
That's a lot.
Yeah. The other one that, again, the Chancellor's Office might be bringing this out in the fall. We'll see. But here's the temporary chat in Gemini. So it gives you this information. And then you can have a temporary chat there, and it won't save it into your recent chats. So it says here, it's temporary chats are safe for 72 hours in Google's thing. It's not going to show up over there.
There's a question right now,
Yeah.
Fatima.
Yes. So I had a problem with AI in the sense I'm a writer, and when I share my writing with AI, I'm afraid it steals it.
Yeah, so it can train on your writing unless you
Have the paid version and say don't
yes.
train.
Yes,
But for the free version, it steals your writing, right?
if you have you can still turn on temporary chat. Then it won't steal it. You know, that's technically not supposed to be training on your temporary chat. But
Right.
if you wanted to be super sure, the pro account gives you those options in your settings to not train. So like in the educators, we don't have it train on our stuff, but we do have it saving chats and coding and all of that. We have a team account, which is a pro account with the team. So it does give you those important features. So if you're worried about it stealing your writing style and all that, because it's always getting trained, then you have to check your settings and see what's available on the account that you have on every app. Good point. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Vincent, hi.
Yes, hello again. I see the temporary feature, and I presume I didn't even realize it existed in Gemini. But what are some use cases around that? Because I don't really actually use that much. I just kind of use this as a general model. But could you provide some examples on when I would turn
Yes.
that on or off?
Yeah, so specific examples for what I teach. One of the things I teach is adult ed, and they're asking questions about medicines, and I advise them always do that in the temporary chat because then you don't want your medical history online, and they didn't realize that. I mean, it's huge. So things about yourself that you wouldn't just blast out there to the world. It might be something about maybe you're doing genealogy research, but you don't want that on there. For students, they might be asking a question in the realm of psychology. Maybe they don't want that in there, younger students. So things that if you're not going to, blast it in a newspaper shouldn't be in anywhere in any of these apps. So the temporary chats is the time when you want to ask a question, but you don't want the rest of the world to see your question and answer.
I think we should train our students to always use that to protect them.
That's true.
Yeah, thank you for that. And also, if I may add, one of the examples that I actually used for temporary chat one time was when I'm in there kind of helping students or instructing students kind of on the utilization of these tools. I don't want it to save it to my own memory, I guess, to compromise my history, I guess, of memories to, maybe I might be doing something saying, oh, I'm a college student, creating a resume, yada, 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 right? And I don't want to save it to my actual memory because it might kind of mess up my algorithm, I guess. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to kind of learn from everything you write and then change the styles. And then if you're going in the wrong direction, you have to go back and repersonalize it. I've changed my personalization like 10 times, in fact, based on that. Because it'll be like, hi, I'm here for you, and it's going to be a happy, exciting day, and we're all happy, and now we're going to answer your question. And I'm like, oh my God, what? Like, I'm tired of that. Let's go retrain it. So I I wanted to go, good morning, Dr. Walsinger. How can I give you a really great response that's ethical and safe? That's so I'm learning as well. Yeah. Some of those things, they get really, really annoying in there. So really great. Okay. So we have this in our PowerPoint. That'll be available on where the chats are. Thank you, Linda, for doing all of that for us. The settings. Again, check on the type of account you have and you'll see what's available. Each level of free, signed in, not signed in, team, pro, and then their max accounts have different levels of settings. So they're all a bit different. This is the one that we use at Educators for the opt-out mode. You can improve the model for everybody or not. My friends that are video editors, they have that on all the time because we're helping each other in that realm. But if you're doing things in a company or something, that would be off like we're doing.
This is the mobile screens.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
These happen to be Android, but iOS is similar. But these are the mobile screens.
Thank you for that. And we do have a resource, student guide to evaluating AI information. It's free. You can download it on our educators.net site. So it's already laid out there. We have a whole bunch of guides like this, but this is a really good one for students. You have anything you want to say anything about that one, Linda?
No, it's a free download resource. I'm going to put the link in the chat right now.
Thank you. Perfect. Oh yeah, Mario, thanks for pointing that out. And personal identified information. Never put that in ChatGPT or Gemini or any of that. So for those of you who are researchers or have done a dissertation, like we've learned that, everything needs to be de-identified. So consider this a public space where you don't put the personally identified information in there, student names, addresses, ID numbers, anything like that.
So we covered this slide earlier,
Okay, let's get
the way things flowed.
Yeah, okay. So why frameworks matter? So, you could go along and say, people are just gonna use AI and whatever, but the students need the frameworks. Literally, it goes back to, I remember when my kids were 2 and I said, I'm going to have rules and frameworks and they're going to learn them and it's going to be hard here, but the rest of my life's going to be easier. So that's my own personal philosophy. It's my same philosophy here with AI. If, we make these frameworks for people to live in, it's going to make all of our lives easier moving forward. So I strongly believe in them. So you can read these here, but we really think that ethics, learning outcomes, institutional accountability all come into play with these frameworks. And everybody's going to have their own conversations and develop their own frameworks. And for me, it comes down to, because I'm a teacher, what are my own frameworks that kind of align with my institutional world in my class and in each individual assignment. So my students are pretty clear on what I expect, when to use AI and what they're going to have to respond verbally, or mostly mine are verbally in presentation at the end of the day on what they're doing. So transparency in institutional decision-making. So this is some things that we thought about on the institutional level, because we have, institutional level, program level, faculties, course level. So ensuring that the processes are understandable to non-experts, because people are coming into this new, make sure that the AI outputs are you're verifying all of those. The big culprit there for me, there's so many culprits, but links, AI can't distinguish links, believe it or not. It can give a lot of false links that go to pages that have moved. And a lot of people don't know that, so they don't check them. And that's an easy way to see that people aren't verifying things, both instructors, students, everybody. Make sure that people are accountable for what they're doing and communicating AI use to everybody. I think we're doing a pretty good job, Vincent. Okay. Bias and fairness. I'll give this. You want to do this one, Linda?
So are we doing everything that promotes one group versus another group? I brought up the illustration of students who are ESL and are using AI to help them just communicate. So promoting fairness. What about access? I think some of these are in the next slide that we get into. Our AI algorithms, making sure that they are fair for everyone. Audit and regularly look at the outcomes of what you're doing. If you're doing AI that's generating reports, is it doing it accurately and fairly? Are you targeting one group? Are you looking at where those biases are coming from? I'm not an institutional researcher, but I do know that they have to spend a lot of time looking at, was it done fairly? Where did we forget to look at something?
So, and Mario, your comment is perfect. So students tell us in all these panels, like they're confused because every class is different, and then they're confused which ones are which. And so again, frameworks are kind of to hopefully align things and make them especially less confusing for students, because right now we are not there yet. Obviously, we're just starting with these frameworks, and students are confused. In one class, it's one thing, another class, it's another thing. Institutional level, it's something else. High school is different than college. So all of those are different for students, and they're getting confused, and they're all vocalizing that in these workshops that we have. So institutional support for AI integration, I think like this is something that for me is super, super important. And what we're doing now, training and professional development workshops, And some colleges are in different places. Some are still at the point of convenings and talking and in like examples that people are using on their jobs and things like that. And some are in a different place making policies or bringing in experts or looking at SLOs and PSLOs, ISLOs, and all of that. So the next one, licenses and tools. This is something that we're experiencing now. So we've heard from the Chancellor's Office group that some things are going to be coming down for us next year, but I'm not sure what they are. It might be some Google things, but we don't know. Is it Google Education? Is it Gemini? I'm not sure. We don't have a system license for any of those things at the moment. Most schools have different things. So some are piloting PlayLab and Nectar or Nectar, I think it's pronounced. Some are not. Those pilots have been smaller than expected, so I'm not sure where we're going with those. They're good tools and they integrate LTI into Canvas. The CSUs have ChatGPT EDU, and I did a panel at Long Beach State, or Fullerton, CSU Fullerton, where they were unhappy about it because nobody received training, and then the students asked for training from the instructors who weren't trained. So it was a big, getting these licenses also has consequences for people who are expected to know all about them. So there's both sides of that.
But this is both a software and a hardware issue. So
It is.
your students and your faculty have to have the computers with the power to use this, as well as having the software licenses, even if they're cloud-based tools.
Right. And then the support infrastructure, defining and integrating AI into coursework and all of that. I just want to address the chat. Yes, the Chancellor's Office is partnering with Gemini Notebook. I actually then in contact with them asking about, there's some accessibility issues still. Notebook doesn't work with screen reader, so we have some. I love Gemini Notebook, like I'm a super fan, but I'm just curious, like as a system, like how we're expected to deal with those, or if there's changes coming down pipeline for those and things like that. Oh, that's perfect. Great power comes great responsibility. Yes. Okay, so I have this slide on a case study, AI and assessment. So there's AI for evaluation and grading. Faculty are doing completely different things. With these, some people are auto-grading everything. So most people aren't. We're grading using the stuff we're used to in Canvas, but it's all over the map, I can tell you, with professors in our system. So that's one of the things to be aware of. And then again, we already mentioned there's concerns about accuracy, fairness, and bias with these. Transparency and appeals. It's a struggle right now for both students and professors and institutions in general, also for admin. So we've mentioned some of these approaches with communication and things, and then making sure that students are still learning the most important things: critical thinking, writing skills, communication skills, teamwork, and all of that. So I'm going to skip to this. Pass this to you, Linda, for a second.
Sure. So as you start to implement AI into your institution and into your department and into your classroom. So we have a slide coming up with concentric circles that shows what I'm talking about. So what is the purpose of using AI in your classroom or where you're at in your job? So is there professional development? How does your use fit within the larger institutional policies and procedures? Where can you start? So is there student support and education? Is there monitoring? What are the repercussions? Who's enforcing it? How is the campus using it to do its multiple functions? So there is student registration, there's student counseling, there's getting your transcripts. So all of these automated facilities, what is the use of AI? How is your institution changing its AI use? And then working with people in your department that teach the same class as you do, how is it impacting your SLOs? Do you have a SLO now that says, hey, I want my students to know how to use AI for drafting or for grammar, and are you doing that slow with AI across the institution? How is it mapping from your course to your degree to the institutional SLO? I don't know yet of a college that has an institutional SLO that is that uses AI or has an AI, but I think it's coming. I think it's going to have to come within the next year, especially as we work towards integration into the workforce. So course updates, accreditation, CTE, enrollment, financial aid, all of these have routine updates. If you're a CTE, your course outline has to get updated every couple of years. If it's a regular course at the community college, it's every 6 years. So where are you in that process, and where is AI fitting into all of that? So that's all part of the implementation that you have to look at.
Just really quick, there's a really good comment about how leadership is dealing with AI and strategic implementation and policy. So we do train groups of administrators, and they're quite different in what we're doing here. First of all, administrators are mostly using in our system Microsoft, so we spend a lot of time in Copilot and talk about how that works and what other tools are available. And then from those conversations and some hands-on work, then they convene on policies around that. So it's a little bit different, but that's a really good comment. And maybe that's something we want to do here as well, is have a training on leadership focus. But I just like that comment. So governance and oversight. These are some of the things kind of happening in that leadership area. So usually, like at the President's Council, the Academic Senate, all of planning and budget, all of that. There's committees now that are dealing with, what are going to be the changes with AI now in our community, and how do we ensure ethics? What are the policies with the, like at the VP level, for example, and all the way down to the classroom level with faculty and students, and what are the accountability mechanisms?
I personally think that this discussion is being driven from the bottom up. I think it's the faculty who are starting to say, we need to do this. And we are working with our advisory councils within the CTE area. This is what the workforce wants. And I think we are driving this up, and we are going to be the ones who tell the top level, this is the way it is. And I think that's the way it should be on this issue.
I super agree with that, because we're dealing with the students and doing it all day. And then, and I think maybe I'm biased, but I've been both a faculty and an administrator and been in industry. But, as an industry user, it's similar to the faculty use of you're doing it every day on your job and dealing with the end users or the end clients who are the students. So,
and it's part of that 10+1.
Yes, absolutely. So we have a little framework here, and again, these are also in our resources online at educators.net. The plan your implementation, pilot, see how your policies, your framework, your alignment goes for the institution, all the way up and down. Evaluate, scale, and sustain. But I'm glad you mentioned the 10+1, because that's something that that worries me. Like someone said, you can't use AI for X, Y, and Z. Like for faculty, that won't work for 10+1, I'm pretty sure. So it's a good point. Accessibility, go for it, Linda.
So this is where accessibility is a two-part. One is access, equal access, and the other one is the ability to engage. So as we mentioned, even with AI, if you're going to look at fairness, do they have equal hardware, software, equipment, internet speeds, language, interpretation? AI is great for teachers to be able to go in and say, okay, interpret this for me. And I can put, maybe it's a teacher newsletter that you're doing, and you can send it out in different languages if the AI does a reasonable translation for it. So getting across cultural barriers. There's nothing that says, hey, before I release this, Chat GPT, what am I missing? I love Claude because I can send letters that I'm sending out to my students and say, all right, rewrite this so that it's more respectful. If it's tone down my comments. I sent an announcement out to my class called Respect. It was basically, if I catch you on your phones watching sports in the back of the room, you're getting moved to the front of the room. And the next move is out into the hallway and you're gone for that day. So I had Claude rewrite what I wrote after I did it. And it turned out really successful. The students said, yes, that's great. So again, equal access, training, support, showing students, as we've been doing today, how to do protected chat. We'll have a conversation here in a minute, is using AI a right or a privilege? But then, is your AI tools accessible? Does it take into account vision, hearing, voice communications, physical limitations? If you've got AR, VR, XR, what are the limitations there? Are you doing an EAP, which is equally effective and accessible academic plan? Do you have an alternative lesson? That takes a lot of time for teachers to develop. I train teachers with Eon XR for a couple of years on how to do those EAPs. Really important that we do all of that. So that's my bandwagon.
All right, so question is using AI a right or a privilege? Some questions to think about, but also important is, does it help our ESL students? Does it provide greater access for employability? I'm just going to say it does.
So do we have a right to teach AI? Do we have a responsibility to teach AI to our students so that we do provide them greater access to employment? And I have been standing on that viewpoint for a long time, and the research is backing up that yes, as educators, it is not just our right to teach, it's not just our privilege to teach, it is our duty to teach and our responsibility to teach. But that's my perspective. And why don't you guys talk about it? Open up your mics and have a conversation. Oh, we only have a few minutes. Sorry.
You have a few minutes, yeah. But I do want to get to this next part because we do
Yes.
have an implementation checklist that you might enjoy for your institution. So, and this would be good for at any level, creating a timeline for your development. And this is a regular kind of leadership planning, key stakeholders, plan communication, establish assessment metrics, and develop a schedule. So that's our normal turnkey leadership model that we use here in education. Some common challenges and solutions. AI is it's occurring so fast that, I mean, that's one of our challenges here is every night before I go to sleep and morning before I wake up, I'm learning stuff, reading stuff, all my newsletters and all the new things. It's tough to keep up. Balancing innovation with oversight. We've been talking a lot about that. Keeping policies current, which means they're going to be changing because we know AI is going to change and it's going to get to AGI or something probably soon and change everything. It's also getting integrated into all of our hardware, so we don't even maybe know where it's all being. Alexa, our phones, computers, the new operating systems, very, very different. Ensuring equitable access and maintaining a human connection in education. And move ahead since we're just about done. So we had this discussion, I don't know if you have time for it, about whether your thoughts on all of these important.
Well, we sort of did them.
Yeah, so we'll just leave that there. I'll give this to you, Linda.
So this is my framework on concentric circles. So are you at the point where you are a solo instructor, you're the only one teaches, or you teach in a silo, or are you integrating and mapping across the frameworks for your institution? Or are you over on student services and you're starting at the bottom? You think you don't have any rights to do anything at the top, but can you start where you're at and begin to implement and network with others and just have the conversation with others?
Yeah, these are, I mean, these are really good. Hopefully, you know, when you get these slides, you can print these out and use these. These are really well thought out. And again, and thanks, Vincent, for your comment, visualizing what everything we've been talking about here today. I'm going to skip this discussion as we're kind of running out of time, but
Go ahead.
just put it in there. And then, so faculty professional development, actually could be any professional development. These are just areas for faculty, but there's a lot of training available. We have a lot at eduvators.net with certifications. And a lot of people are taking our certifications and badges and posting them on social media. So we thank everybody for doing that. There's a lot of students are doing those, and it goes over all of the training. We have resources for continued learning here at Eduvators, but also Google has stuff on there. You can hop on a lot of things. There's a lot available for us as educators to keep learning. And there we have communities of practice here in the community colleges, which are great. Next step is for implementation, drafting policies, engaging stakeholders, implementing your plans, establishing.
Working with peer institutions is another one that'll help.
Huge one. Yeah, huge one.
Finding out what they got and using them to get started.
Absolutely. We have time for some questions, and here's our emails as well. And we have social media and a lot of free resources, and we have a YouTube channel as well where we go over. I make videos on what's new in AI all the time. Hope you enjoy those. They're fun to make. So questions at the end of this?
We have time for maybe one question.
Sorry.
Hi, I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. Raina, I gotta say the Eduvators, I have a lot of stuff going on right now, but I want to get my badging on there too as well. You know what I'm saying? But just kind of the shameless plug. There's a lot of really great content on that Eduvators website, in terms of like upskilling with AI. So I just love the way that you guys packaged it together, and it really helps my practice kind of evolve too as well as I integrate more pieces. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we've worked, that's our goal here, is to democratize AI for our community. And so we're glad that you are using those. We've spent the last 2 years doing that, and we have most of the stuff on there is free for our community. So thank you very much for that comment.
This was great dialogue, everyone, both just here and in the chat. And if you learned something and you had some great takeaways, please type yes in the chat as well. The LARC AI Learning Library, I know we mentioned Google a little earlier, and access to those certifications and a lot of the other benefits that have been afforded to us are there in the library. So please do check that out. Next Friday, we will have tools for educators, AI in business and entrepreneurship careers. The link is in the chat. So please register for and share that opportunity as well. You will find that flyer also in the library. This will be posted next week. You will find any slide decks for any of our professional development sessions linked in the description of those YouTube videos. And please do complete the feedback form. We would really appreciate it. We do look at that, and it does help guide us in the future. So with that, we'd like to thank everyone. Thank you, Raina. Thank you, Linda, for an exceptional professional development session. And we look forward to seeing everyone next week.
Thanks, Judy.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.